Welcome to Dragon Sanctuary, a podcast dedicated to helping you expand your light for ascension. Let's stay curious and build community. And now, here's your host, Vick.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Dragon Sanctuary. I am so excited again about today's episode. Today's episode has a very interesting and deep imprint on me. I'll be pretty honest. Both physically and I think like emotionally. And I think that most humans can definitely relate to pain, because I think that at one point or another, we have all suffered. We've all been in pain. We've all experienced pain. I think it's a beautiful part about being human. And I know that we have all heard or may be familiar with the phrase, no pain, no gain, especially as females. I know for myself in particular, I don't know if I should say embraced, tried to embody this phrase in my life from a very young age, but I think inherently I have. And I think that it has served a great purpose to me, and it's something that I've always learned how to navigate in a way. And especially as I've gotten older too, as someone who has suffered from, I don't like to use labels, but someone who'd suffered from, let's say, maybe chronic pain. It's been an interesting journey to navigate. And my favorite one at that, I have my mother, who is very much she's my mother. And she's the most important woman in my life. And one of her many gifts she has shared with me is this I guess soul contract that I have with myself, and it involves the number 9. So power in the 9s. So for me, I have a lot of 9s come up. I'm not going to explain where or how many, but it's a popular and prominent number for me in my soul contract. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to look up the work if you feel called to. And I have been navigating and kind of moving through the idea of pain and how it's presented itself in my life so consistently. And for me, it's actually body trauma particularly. And for those of you who are listening, you're familiar with some of the things that I've shared on previous episodes. So my concussions, maybe you've heard about my clubfoot, maybe you understand that I came into this world as a sick kid. I spent 2 years of my life in a cast, or my first years of my life in a cast. And I was always navigating and learning how to step into the world. And I love sports, and sports caused me a lot of pain. And I really enjoyed it, actually. I was talking with my boyfriend's brother's girlfriend, who I love and admire very much. Her name is Andrea. And we were having a very loving conversation about pain, and or a few loving conversations about pain. And I was basically like explaining to her how, as someone who has suffered from like chronic pain and someone who has, had to go to great lengths to like feel not in pain, it's been almost traumatizing in the sense that like when I go to see a new practitioner, or I used to go see a new practitioner, it would be like very like traumatic experience, because I knew that no pain, no gain. So like I had to experience a lot of pain to like receive pleasure, or receive like no pain, eliminate pain. So I was, I was saying we had an experience together, and I was sharing with her, she did some work on me, and like it was very safe, and it was painless. It was so painless. I'm definitely going on a rant, but it has been so interesting to me, because I've tried different things that have caused me a lot of pain. I will say, one of my favorite medicines is traditional Chinese acupuncture, and it's caused me the most pain of my life. Like, if anyone has gotten acupuncture, they know what I'm talking about. And it's like an undescribable amount of pain, or can be. And it gets better, like it improves, but the way you feel after is like, it's amazing. You feel like reborn, you feel new, but it's still intense, and it's often traumatizing. It can be like traumatic to like go back there. And sometimes I like always coach myself. I said this before, I'm an athlete first, and like I really thrive on like discipline and like habit, and drawing things up, writing things down, and then executing. So like when I can see that something's working, I'm going to keep doing it. Even though it's hard, I'm going to keep practicing it. I'm going to keep trying and trying. And it's something that I admire and I love about myself, honestly. And with my acupuncture, it's like, it's that. It's like, I see that it's working and it's getting better, but and like your thresholds, like they increase and then they decrease, and then sometimes you're feeling like, okay, I can handle this, and other times you're like, I actually can't handle this. What is happening to me? Why am I in this much pain? And I also suffer, and not so much anymore. I've been so much better, thank God. Thank God. But there have been points where like I'm suffering in silence, and like I know my mom, she's watched me go through like so much pain, like physically. And a story in particular pops out to me, and I know I shared it a little bit in a previous episode, I believe, but it was a year and a half ago when I hurt my knee, and I dislocated my knee, and like just wear and tear. Like I didn't tear anything completely, but just wear and tear. And I've torn my meniscus twice, so it was like just intense. And it was right before my best friend's wedding, and like, again, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit. If you've listened to that episode, thank you. But like this person, my best friend Jess, like she has shown up for me in the most painful moments, like my mom. Okay. My mom showed up. She took Teddy. She like, allowed my partner to bring me to the hospital and care for me. And like everyone like showed up for me, helped me. Like I remember my sister and my brother-in-law came over with my newborn niece and like took me out for lunch, and like couldn't even walk. Like I was in so much pain, and like I document all of my psychotherapy sessions I have for like, I used to actually record them like audibly. And then I realized that I need to use this in another way. It was very cathartic. So then hence the podcast. But anyways, I digress. I was reading an entry that I had. I think there's two that I'm referencing, but the first one was like from 2024. And it was talking about pain. And I read a little like note that I wrote in there, and it's like, I'm always in pain. Like, it feels like I'm always in pain. Like, even on my best friend's wedding, like, all I felt was so much pain. Like, and pain, not the way I wanted to experience it. Like, I was so happy for her. It was honestly one of the best days of my life. Like, this is someone I've loved for a long time, like, deeply. And like, I'm so happy for her and for her husband and her family and everyone. And it was like, all I kept thinking was how much pain I was in the whole time. And like, I look back on that day and I don't think of it as painful, but honestly, it really was for me. And I really had to let that out and with my therapist, and she was like the best, as she always is, and just holding space and understanding. And like, what I realized in that moment is like, even though I was in so much pain, every other person around me was able to still show up for me, and that made it a million times less painful. And that's what I'm really trying to say, is like, when you surrender to your pain, whatever it is, it may not always be physical, but a lot of the times it can turn into physical. And like, I always thought, like, why am I always brought to my knees? Why am I always brought to my knees? Because I'm physically always brought to my knees. And I'm like, what is the message in it? It actually is that. Like, I experienced something, an incredible experience I had, and surrounded by people very close to me. And at one point, I remember just thinking, we have to worship those we love, but we have to always worship ourselves too. Like, get on your knees and worship yourself, because even when you are going through some of the most painful moments of your life, if you can be on your knees and ask for forgiveness or ask for support or guidance, or just simply hold me, like whoever that is to you, if it's God or whomever, or maybe you need to like physically be embraced, like you need to like, I don't know, like somebody in this circle shared with me this weekend too, like their spouse suffers from chronic pain, and he said something that she says, which really impacted me. It was like, or sorry, she said to her husband, please don't try to fix me and just love me. And I think, as you know, women especially, we're such warriors, and like, that's no disrespect to the men and the masculine energy, but I think that women really do their best to like try to shield their pain and really like uplift and empower everyone around them. And often it can really drag us down if we're not careful and aware of what's kind of going on and navigating the waters cautiously, I guess. So yeah, definitely I would say that I I didn't even realize this until like I was ready to start recording this episode. This is my first episode that I'm actually wearing normal glasses. So like, normal as in you could see my eyes, without any sort of like barrier, reflection, or whatever. And big one, wasn't intentional. Just like, don't feel like my eyes are in pain. You know, like, I feel like I could see and like share and feel safe, and like my eyes don't hurt from like, you know, staring at a screen, or, you know, all that light and all the stuff that's in our eyes all the time. So I think really opening your self slowly and like peeling back those layers, those onions, is really important, especially if we feel like we're in a constant state of pain. Like, really asking yourself, like, where is it coming from? Am I creating more pain for myself? Because often when we have pain, we have a story attached. to that pain. And I think detaching to a story is empowering. And we also condition ourselves a lot, conscious or unconsciously. And I know that most of us know that pain is in the mind. I'm not going to say all of us, and I'm not going to say I know, but I think a lot of us know that pain is in the mind, and it can be controlled. And there's a lot of, fun things that people have done to like shown us that, or experimental things. Maybe they're not fun all the time, but experimental things. Like I think I was watching Amazing Race like last season, and they walked across like hot rocks or whatever, right? Stuff like that. So it's amazing what the mind can do and how it can control pain. And I think pain creates bias too. Like, I had 6 concussions, so I know pain, or as I use my famous line that I like to say is, I know the ghost inside the brain because mine lived there for so long. And just like that attachment. And it creates this inauthenticity in you where it's like just low vibration. Pain is low vibration. It really is. And like, even when going back to another more recent conversation that I had in therapy, which is one of my favorite topics, and it's like this idea of like authenticity and what it looks like for me and how it shows up and how I need it to show up for me in my life with those around me and for myself. And I will say that we spoke about a lot of different things, but something that came up was even when horrific things occur, we can only forgive. So only like forgiveness in yourself is congruent. And there may be open wounds that are like harder to seal and patch and like put a little bit of cream so it doesn't scar, But no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. So I wanted to really convey a message. If you feel like I have already, great. Thank you. And if you haven't, that's okay too. But the concept is that I want to like leave with anyone who's listening to this podcast is the idea of pain versus power. So, succumbing to our pain can often diminish our power, at least for me. So when I focus on my pain, my suffering, and my hardships, and all these things, it creates a whirlwind of emotions, which are often hard to process, or they like open all these little doors to like other little things that come up. And like when you're in pain, you're like, also like maybe your fight or flight mode is like activated too, right? There's a lot of people with chronic pain that are constantly living in a fight or flight mode state. And that means that they're running from the hyena, right? And when you're in that state, it's hard to really be your authentic self. I really do think that when we come into this world, we're born to like be like hopefully free of suffering, and I know that that's a fortune and a privilege for a lot of us in this world. I don't think it's really said enough, and I don't take that privilege, lightly. I do not take it lightly. But as I continue to navigate my life and reflect on my life, I learned, that the most important thing you can do with your pain is just blow it a kiss, is say thank you so much, and toodaloo. Goodbye. See ya. Just blow it a kiss. And I started doing that. Literally, there was a lot of things that came up, and I just started, even the actual motion of taking my fingers to my lips or my hands to my lips and just blowing it out. There's something very cathartic for me anyways. I love speaking with my hands and being very animated, some people might think. I don't know, I just think I'm being myself. But I am that way. And there's something that feels like it's actually just, energy is real, whether you believe it or not. You can feel when someone's suffering. You can feel when someone's upset. You can feel when your body is tense. Your fascia science, okay? For all those people out there. No doctor, but I've read some articles from doctors, and it's real. Your fascia is literally taking on pain and programming your mind and your body and your soul to feel things or not feel things, or experience joy or not experience joy. And it's very interesting. I'm going to start doing more and more research on this, but just from a curious place anyway. And for me, I want to just really say that you can decide how you want to give your power away. And only you are the gatekeeper of it. Nobody can really take it away. You give it away. So, someone annoys you, or your patience is being tested, or you're battling hunger or something. There's obviously there's a spectrum, there's a range. Go into your toolbox and maybe take out the wand and just flick it away. I don't know, do a Wingardium Leviosa or something. And just flick away the pain. Flick it away, because it doesn't serve. And also, I want to say too, really show yourself love and compassion. And I will say, it's very important for me to say this as someone who's overcome their pain. So, I don't want to sound as if I'm speaking for everyone when I say any of what I said on this episode, because I'm just speaking from my own experience. That doesn't mean that you're going to have, or you've had, or you will have the same experience. It just simply means that this has been my experience. And especially understanding my soul contract and processing it, and through the help of people around me and my mom and others, and really just empowering myself, but showing myself a deep love. And I know that's easier said than done, and I don't want to diminish anyone's pain, because it's real for you, and that's real. So if it's real for you, it's real. If that's your reality, that's your reality, and I respect that. I wish people honestly didn't suffer. I obviously wish nobody suffered in pain. And when people I feel that very heavily. I feel like I can relate. I think we all can. As I started the episode, we can all relate to being in pain. And I just wonder if the pain is there to also maybe empower you too. So let's end on my favorite note. I have pulled a card from a deck I believe I've used before, which is the Shaman's Dream Oracle, Colette Baron Reed and Alberto Villoldo. I don't know, can't really pronounce that last name. Villoldo. But Alberto and Colette will do that. This is it here. It's a fun deck. I don't use it that much, to be honest. Mostly because it's very thick. And I don't have small hands, but I don't have big hands. And it's hard to shuffle. I don't know if that's a... See, am I putting my pain and giving away my power? I don't know. You'll have to tell me, people. Okay, so the card that I pulled, so cool. Obviously never pulled it before. I've maybe used this deck a handful of times, but it's card number 55 if you're into numerology, and it's called, I pulled it for the group. Okay. And it's called the farther gate, and the message is bold step forward. So if you're watching, I'll show it to you. The farther gate, bold step forward, number 55. So there's no reverse, there's no upright message, which I love these decks, I have to say. So I'll read it. When the farther gate card shows up, it is a clear call to lift your eyes to the horizon and begin to walk toward your future. You are marching in place right now, stirring the dust, but not getting anywhere. Trust that your forward movement will lead you to a new destination you have already set for yourself, but perhaps forgotten or neglected because of your everyday busyness. The farther gate comes to tell you that an ending is at hand, and you can leave that old behind. Oh, let it peel away like an old skin you shed. Do not hesitate. Cross the thresholds boldly, and you will be rewarded. If you continue marking time instead of moving, you will miss the opportunity. The gate is open. The next landscape of your life is within reach, but the window of time to pass through it grows shorter. Do not dally. A gift of the farther gate is to bring you to the fullest expression of your gifts, perhaps for the first time. It is an invitation to a sacred passage, to a new discovery, and both great challenges and opportunities. It is not a graduation. There are no rewards other than the exploration itself. You have been a farmer far too long, tilling the hard soil that now bears little fruit for you. Time to put on that explorer hat once again. Cool. The next experience legacy. I forgot to read the message. Just like the Cole's notes, which is the next experience legacy evolving. Bold step forward. Beautiful. Really cool. Beautiful, beautiful card. And the gates of heaven, which I'll talk about heaven another day. But much, much to say. And I really, really, really do thank every one of you for listening to another episode. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.